The elevator doors slid open with a ding that echoed like a gunshot in the empty lobby. And there he was, Rhett, soaked to the bone, his tie askew and his dark hair plastered to his forehead like he'd just run through a hurricane. "Jasper," he gasped, his voice breaking on my name. "I can't do this anymore. I love you. God. I've always loved you." And in that instant, the world I'd built brick by careful brick over 15 years crumbled, leaving me staring at the man who'd been my anchor, my brother in arms, now a stranger with eyes full of fire I never saw coming. It was a Thursday night in late October, the kind of crisp New York evening where the wind off the Hudson bites right through your coat. But inside our firm on the 42nd floor of One Penn Center, the air was thick with the stale scent of coffee and desperation. We'd just wrapped a brutal deposition. 8 hours of grilling a corporate exec on embezzlement charges that could sink a Fortune 500 like the Titanic, and I was bone-tired, dreaming of a scotch neat at the Dead Rabbit down the block. Rhett and I had been partners in this madness since law school at Columbia, back when we were wide-eyed kids with nothing but student loans and ambitions bigger than the skyline. 15 years. That's how long we'd been each other's constant. Late nights poring over case files in dingy diners. Road trips to depositions in flyover states where we'd blast Springsteen and argue about everything from the Mets' cursed season to whether justice was ever truly blind. He'd crashed on my couch more times than I could count, nursed me through a vicious flu that hit during our first big win, and stood by me when my dad passed from pancreatic cancer 3 years back, holding my hand in that sterile hospital room while the machines beeped their final goodbye. Rhett Harlan was the Ian to my Yang. Tall and brooding where I was compact and quick-witted. A bulldog in the courtroom with a laugh that could disarm a jury. We'd shared secrets. Sure. His messy divorce from Elena 5 years ago, how she cheated with her yoga instructor and left him questioning every choice. My string of failed dates with women who never quite fit, always ending with me buried in work instead of their arms. But love? That word had never crossed the line we'd drawn so carefully. The one that said we were brothers, not whatever this was. I backed up a step, my heel catching on the edge of the Persian rug that cost the firm a small fortune. "Rhett, what the hell? You're drunk. Did you hit O'Malley's on the way up?" My voice came out sharper than I meant, laced with the panic clawing up my throat. He wasn't drunk. I could smell the mint on his breath, see the clarity in those hazel eyes that had always looked at me like I was the only one who got it. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the glass like applause for this nightmare unfolding. "I'm not drunk, Jazz. I've been carrying this for years. Like a goddamn tumor eating me alive." He stepped closer, his loafers leaving wet prints on the hardwood. And for the first time, I noticed the tremor in his hands, the way his broad shoulders hunched like he was bracing for a punch. "Remember that night in Philly after the Miller case? We got that hotel room with the view of the Schuylkill, split a bottle of bourbon on the balcony, and you said, 'Rhett, you're the only one I'd trust with my life.' I almost kissed you then, almost told you everything." Philly. Yeah, I remembered. The air had been thick with summer humidity, the city lights twinkling like fireflies below us. We'd been 28, invincible, celebrating our first 7-figure settlement. I'd leaned on him, my head on his shoulder, feeling safer than I ever had with anyone. But I'd pulled away, joked about it being the booze talking, and we'd never spoken of it again. Now, staring at him in the fluorescent glow of the office lamps, I felt that same pull. A magnetic ache deep in my chest that I'd chalked up to exhaustion or loyalty or whatever straight guy lie I'd been telling myself. "Rhett, stop. We're friends. Best friends. This changes everything." My words hung there, heavy as the storm clouds swallowing the Empire State Building visible through the blinds. I loved him, sure, in the way you love the person who's seen you at your ugliest and stuck around. But this was a grenade lobbed into the foxhole we dug together. He laughed, a bitter sound that twisted my gut. "Changes? Jazz, it's already changed. Every look, every touch. It's been there, screaming in my head. I thought if I just waited, you'd see it too. But you're blind, man. Or maybe I'm the fool for hoping." The office felt smaller, the walls closing in with their framed diplomas and awards that mocked our fragility. I sank into my chair, the leather creaking under me, and rubbed my temples. "Sit down, please. We need to talk this out like adults, not like we're in some Lifetime movie." He did, perching on the edge of his desk across from mine, elbows on knees, staring at the floor. That's when he pulled it out. A letter folded and refolded so many times it was soft as tissue. I wrote this 100 times. Burned half of them. Figured if I couldn't say it, maybe the words could. I took it, my fingers brushing his, and that spark, electric, undeniable, shot up my arm. Unfolding it, I scanned the tight scrawl. Jasper, if you're reading this, it means I finally grew a pair. 15 years ago, in that cramped dorm room smelling of ramen and regret, you looked at me across a stack of torts textbooks and said, "We're gonna own this city, Harlan." And we did. But what you don't know is that from that first grin, I was yours. Not as a friend. As everything. The words blurred as my eyes stung. I wasn't crying, hell no, Jasper Ellis didn't cry in front of anyone. But damn if it didn't feel like the dam was cracking. "Why now?" I whispered, handing it back like it burned. "Because of Sarah." His ex-wife's name dropped like a stone in still water. "She called last week, said she's getting remarried, invited me to the wedding, and all I could think was how I'd trade every what if for one real shot with you. Life's too short, Jazz. Dad's heart attack last month? That was my wake-up. I don't want to die wondering." His dad, old Mr. Harlan, the stoic Korean war vet who'd taught us both to tie a Windsor knot and grill the perfect steak. Gone in seconds at 72, clutching his chest in the VFW hall. Rhett had flown to Philly alone for the funeral, come back quieter, his jokes forced. I chalked it up to grief. Now I saw the truth. He'd been unraveling, thread by thread. I stood, pacing to the window, pressing my palm against the cold glass. Below, taxis honked in the eternal gridlock of Midtown, yellow beacons in the downpour. New York didn't stop for confessions or broken hearts. It just kept pulsing, indifferent. I don't know what to say. I've never thought of us like that. You're Rhett, my Rhett, the guy who knows I take my eggs over easy and hates olives. This feels like betrayal. His head snapped up, hurt flashing across his face like lightning. Betrayal? Jazz, I've betrayed myself every day keeping quiet. Watching you chase those women who dimmed your light, biting my tongue when all I wanted was to pull you close and say, "Stop looking. I'm right here." If that's betrayal, then yeah, guilty as charged. The word hung between us, sharp as a scalpel. Betrayal. It echoed the undercurrent in our work. The cutthroat world of corporate law where alliances shifted like sand. Where we'd once turned on a mutual friend for a bigger client. But this was personal, visceral. I turned, meeting his gaze, and for the first time, I let myself really see him. The faint scar above his eyebrow from that bar fight in our 20s. The way his lips quirked when he was nervous. And God help me, I felt it too. The echo of that Philly night, the warmth of his shoulder under my head. Before I could speak, my phone buzzed on the desk. An incoming call from Elena, Rhett's ex. I silenced it, but not before he saw. "Answer it," he said flatly. "Maybe she'll remind you what normal looks like." "Don't," I snapped, pocketing the phone. "This isn't about her, or anyone else. It's us." "Us?" he repeated, standing slowly, like a man rising from his own grave. "There is no us, if you can't even say it back." He grabbed his coat from the hook, the fabric dripping onto the floor. "Rhett, wait." But he was already at the door, pausing with his hand on the knob. "Take the weekend, Jazz. Think about it, but don't think too long. Life doesn't do encores." The door clicked shut behind him, leaving me alone with the rain's relentless tattoo and the letter clutched in my fist. 15 years, and in one night, it all teetered on the edge of abyss. I slid down the wall, back to the carpet, and let the sobs come, raw, ugly things that shook me like the thunder outside. What the hell had I done? Or worse, what hadn't I? The next morning dawned gray and unforgiving. The kind of November light that seeps through the blinds like bad news you can't unsee. I woke on the office floor, neck kinked from the rug. The letter Rhett had left crumpled under my cheek like a guilty secret. My apartment on the Upper West End felt like a museum of solitude. Bookshelves sagging with unread briefs. A fridge humming with takeout containers from happier nights. I showered hot and long, scrubbing at the salt tracks on my face, but the confession clung like damp wool. By 9, I was at my desk, nursing a black coffee that tasted like regret, when the firm's senior partner, Harlan Sr., no relation to Rhett, thank God, dropped a bomb of his own. Ellis Harlan, my office. Now. Victor Lang was a silver fox in bespoke suits. The man who'd recruited us fresh out of Columbia with promises of glory and golden handcuffs. His corner suite overlooked Bryant Park, all leather and mahogany, the air scented with his Cuban cigars. Rhett was already there, perched on the edge of a club chair, tie straight but eyes hollowed out. He didn't look at me as I sat, the space between us a chasm wider than the East River. Lang paced, waving a tablet like a baton. Gentlemen, we've got a situation. Vanguard Pharma, our golden goose, is facing a class action suit on that opioid trial we buried last year. Whistleblower just surfaced, and they're pointing fingers at us for the NDA strong-arming. My stomach dropped. The Vanguard case. Our biggest win, a settlement that padded the firm's coffers and our bonuses. Rhett and I had led the charge, twisting arms and drafting clauses that bordered on the unethical. I'd signed off on the final revisions myself, late one night with Rhett's input over takeout lo mein. Pointing at us how? I asked, voice steady despite the ice in my veins. Emails. Leaked. Yours specifically, Jasper, pushing the gag order. And Rhett, your notes on the witness tampering angle. Lang's eyes bored into us, sharp as indictment. Board's panicking. If this hits the Times, we're cooked. I need you two to contain it. Discreetly. Rhett finally glanced my way, a flicker of our old sync in his nod. We'll handle it, Vic. What's the play? Find the leak. Plug it. And for God's sake, don't let this fracture the team. Lang clapped us both on the shoulders, harder on mine, like he sensed the fault lines and ushered us out. In the hallway, Rhett muttered, War room? Like old times. I nodded, throat tight. Like old times. We commandeered the conference room on 40, walls lined with white bards scarred from 1,000 battles. Spread out depositions, emails printed in reams, highlighters bleeding yellow across redacted lines. For hours it was just us, rhythm unbroken, me diagramming timelines while he cross-referenced precedents. Look here, he said at one point. Our heads bent close over a laptop, his breath warm on my neck. The IP traces to an internal server. Someone in accounting. I leaned in, our forearms brushing, and that spark ignited again. Hotter, insistent. I pulled back too fast, knocking over a stack of folders. Papers fluttered like confetti from a ruined party. Sorry, I mumbled, scrambling to gather them. He caught my wrist, gentle but firm. Yes. About last night. Not now. The words were a whip crack. We can't. Not with this hanging over us. His jaw tightened, but he released me. Fine. Work first. Hearts later. We traced the leak to Marla Voss, a junior associate in billing who'd been pink-slipped last month for attitude. She'd forwarded the emails to a reporter at ProPublica, bitter payback for a denied promotion. By evening, Rhett had a draft cease and desist, ironclad, while I prepped a counter-narrative for the board. It was vintage us. Seamless, unstoppable. But as the sun dipped, painting the room in bruised purples, the dam broke. Rhett set down his pen, rubbing his eyes. You know, this case? That's why I stayed silent so long. Didn't want to risk the firm, the life we built. Pathetic, right? I looked up, highlighter poised. It's not pathetic. Protecting what matters. What matters? His voice rose, edged with the frustration I'd heard in closing arguments. The job? The paycheck? Or me, Jez? Because last night, I laid it all out, and you ran. I didn't run. I'd hidden in work, same as always. I froze. This us, it's huge. Scary. He stood, pacing to the window, silhouetted against the twinkling grid of lights. Scary? Try living it every day. Hiding behind bro code while my heart's screaming your name. I betrayed you by not saying sooner, but you're betraying us now by pretending it doesn't feel right. The word again, betrayed. It landed like a sucker punch, stirring the ghosts of our shared sins. That night with Vanguard, when we'd bent the rules, I trusted him implicitly. Now, what if it ruins everything? The friendship, the firm. Then it was never solid to begin with. He turned, eyes fierce. I love you, Jasper Ellis. Not the lawyer, not the buddy. You, the guy who cries at Pixar movies and leaves dishes in the sink. Take the risk or don't. But decide. I rose, closing the distance, heart hammering like a gavel. Our faces inches apart. I could count the flecks in his irises, smell the faint cedar of his cologne mixed with stress sweat. I think I love you too. Have for years. Just didn't have the words. His breath hitched, a smile ghosting his lips. Tentative, hopeful. Then he kissed me. Soft at first, a question, then deeper, his hands framing my face like I was porcelain. It was fire and homecoming, 15 years distilled into that press of lips. I kissed back, hands fisting his shirt, the world narrowing to the taste of him. Coffee and salt and promise. We broke apart gasping, foreheads touching. What now? I whispered. Now? We fight. For this. For us. But fate, that cruel playwright, had other acts in store. As we gathered our things, my phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. Tell Harlan to check his email. Vanguard's board knows about the leak and your little secret affair. Resign or we go public. Tick-tock. Ice flooded my veins. Betrayal, round 2. Someone in the firm, maybe Marla, maybe worse, hadn't just leaked the case. They'd leaked us. The conference room spun. The city lights outside mocking our stolen moment with their cold indifference. Rhett snatched the phone, scanning the message, his face draining to ash. Son of a how? We were alone. Not entirely, I said, mind racing through angles like a closing brief. The security cams, or the server logs from earlier. Someone's been watching. He slammed the phone down, knuckles white. Watching us? We're just waiting for dirt. This isn't about the leak, Jazz. It's personal. Personal. The word twisted like a knife, dredging up shadows I'd long buried. Back in law school, Rhett and I had a rival. Connor Hale, golden boy from Yale, always one step ahead, nursing a grudge when we scooped the internship that should have been his. Connor had joined our firm 2 years after graduation, climbing ranks with a smile that never reached his eyes. Last I'd heard, he'd been passed over for partner again, thanks to our Vanguard win.
Motive?
Check. Means? As head of IT, he had access to every digital footprint. We confront him, Rhett growled, already striding for the door. I grabbed his arm, pulling him back. Easy, cowboy.
No guns blazing.
We gather proof first. Play smart. We hunkered down. Rhett hacking into the server logs. Shady? Sure. But desperation breeds ethic benders. While I drafted a trap email, baiting the hook with feigned panic over the affair. By midnight, Connor bit. A reply from a burner account, gloating. Knew you'd crack, Ellis. Resign by dawn or the board sees the footage. And your little bromance goes viral. Footage. Plural. Not just tonight. My blood ran cold. He's got more. How long? Rhett's fingers flew over the keys, pulling metadata. Months. Hidden cams in the break room, server splices from Philly trips. He's been building a file, waiting to torch us. Betrayal's bitter sting hit full force. Not just professional sabotage, but a violation of every late-night chat, every bro hug. Connor, who'd toasted our successes with craft IPAs, all while plotting. For what? Petty revenge? Or something darker, like the whispers I'd heard? His own closet, projecting fury onto us. Dawn crept in, pale fingers over the skyline, as we marched to Connor's office on 38. He was there, bleary-eyed in a hoodie, nursing an energy drink. Surprise flickered, then smugness. Boys. Early birds, huh? Cut the crap. Hale, Rhett snarled, tossing the phone on his desk. The message glowed accusingly. We know it's you. The leaks, the blackmail. Why? Connor leaned back, steepling his fingers like a Bond villain. Why? Because you two have had it all. The cases, the glory, each other, while I scrape for scraps. And yeah, the footage? Bonus. Watching you pine like lovesick puppies? Pathetic, but effective. I stepped forward, voice low. This isn't a game, Connor. Destroy it. All of it. Or we go to Lang with everything. Your Yale expulsion for hacking, the harassment claims you buried. His smirk faltered. Bluffs work when you know the hand. You wouldn't. Firm first, right? Always the golden boys. Not anymore. Rhett's tone was steel. We're done hiding. For the case, for us. Hand it over. A beat. Then Connor's shoulders sagged, the fight leaching out. He pulled a thumb drive from his drawer, sliding it across. Fine. But you're idiots. Love in this shark tank? It'll eat you alive. We left him there, broken and exposed, the drive burning a hole in my pocket. Back in the war room, Rhett wiped it clean permanently while I called Lang, laying it all out. The leak, the blackmail, our relationship. No more shadows. Lang's response was a thunderclap. Jesus, Elise. This is a mess. But you're my best. Take the week, both of you. I'll handle the board. And for what it's worth, be happy. Life's too short for regrets. The week blurred into a haze of tentative normalcy. Rhett crashed at my place. Not on the couch this time, but beside me. Nights of takeout, Thai, and Netflix. Hands intertwined during The Last of Us. Kisses that started sweet and deepened into anchors. We talked, really talked, about the years lost to fear. His divorce a smokescreen for coming out to himself. My failed dates a shield against the truth that Rhett was it, always had been. I was scared. I admitted one evening, skyline glittering beyond my window, of losing you, of what it meant in this world. He pulled me close, chin on my head. You won't. We're unbreakable, Jazz, even when we bend. But the climax came Friday unbidden. Vanguard's board summoned us to their Midtown Airy, a glass palace of entitlement. The CEO, a Botox titan named Hargrove, loomed over the conference table, flanked by suits. Messrs. Ellis and Harlan. Your indiscretions have complicated matters. Rhett's hand found mine under the table, steady. Indiscretions? You mean love? Or the leak your own people ignored? Hargrove bristled. The suit proceeds. But your firm? We pull funding unless you testify, against Lang and Associates. Betrayal's final twist. Not just Connor, but Vanguard pulling strings, using our vulnerability as leverage. The room spun, conflicts colliding, loyalty to the firm, to each other, to the justice we'd sworn to uphold. I stood, voice clear. No deal. We'll fight fair, in court, on record. Our relationship, that's ours. Not your weapon. Rhett rose beside me, a united front. And if you push, we go public. Every dirty NDA, every buried trial. Your call. Silence thick as fog. Hargrove's eyes narrowed, calculating. Then a nod. Walk away. We'll settle quietly. We did victory Pyrrhic, but ours. The firm survived, scarred but standing. Connor resigned in disgrace. Rhett and I, we took Lang's blessing, stepping out of the shadows. No grand wedding, no fairy tale bows. Just us, two guys navigating the gray of it all. Months later, on a bench in Central Park, snow dusting the paths like forgotten confetti, Rhett slipped a key into my palm. Not a ring, but to his brownstone in Brooklyn. Move in? For real this time. I grinned, pulling him into the cold kiss. 15 years late, but yeah. Hell yeah. Life didn't fix itself overnight. Therapy unpacked the baggage, work demanded its pound of flesh. But in the quiet moments, his laugh echoing in our kitchen, our hands linked across a deposition table, we found grace. Betrayal had cracked us open, but from the ruins grew something human, flawed, and fiercely true. Love, it turns out, isn't a grenade. It's the foxhole you build together, rain or shine. And in America's relentless churn, from New York's neon pulse to the heart's quiet beat, we endured. Not unbroken, but whole.